Hi Capricorn, it's Denise with Divine Soul Astrology. Today I'm here to talk about Uranus making a square to the nodes, the lunar nodes, and it's a big deal. Right now we're feeling this as I'm recording this. It is May 16th. Today's actually the day of the Taurus new moon. I have a video on that if you'd like to see that. That is very important. Now, the nodes, though, the North Node is our soul's mission, yes, and is where we're always striving to go consciously or unconsciously. And the South Node is related to the past and sometimes lack. It's related to past lives and wounds, sometimes family wounds. And it's also related to the familiar is. And the familiar can limit us, right? We can't grow if we're always in the familiar. We have to step out of into the unknown. So the known is the South Node, and it is where we are moving away from, okay? So right now we have a perfect square on June 12th. We're feeling it now, as I've said. It's been there for a while, and it will stay there until the square to the nodes will stay there until the middle of October. And so we can see the square here. Um, let's get rid of this here. We can see the square here. And Capricorn, I have you on the ascendant, so you can see the chart a little easier. And I've removed all this, all the other aspects here that I want to show you what is related here, right, to the square. And the lunar nodes are not planets, they are points in the sky, and they are the ones that create the eclipses. So this is why this is so important, right? Now, Uranus, and I did a video, as I've said, but Uranus represents change, sometimes social change. It represents independence and also disruption, instability, unexpected change. And it is doing that for the sake of innovation and progress, right? That's why it's also related to the social, right? The social and the collective. Yeah, very interesting. So there we have Uranus, and Uranus is in your sixth house of daily routines and obstacles and responsibilities. This is your house of work and service. It's also your house of health and wellness. So yeah, that's the kind of the tough house. We're helping a lot of people with service. We're paying bills. We're running back and forth to get the kids. You go to work. You have to take care of your health. It's kind of a house of obstacles there. All right. It's a very practical house. I like to call it the blue collar house, right? And that's just kind of what I call it. And right now it's showing up in a blue house. It is in Gemini. Okay. Now we have Uranus there, and the nodes are on the nodes are going to change in July, but they're on the health axis. So let's have a look at that. And Virgo, where the South Node sits, where we are trying to move away from, is in about this can be about physical health, and then Pisces is about mental health, right, or emotional health and things like that. If you want, we can call it self-care, right? Because we do have to take care of ourselves, and that's what Pisces is about. Pisces is about a retreat, retreating to recharge batteries and isolating and sleep and things like that. Yeah. So meditation even, because that is definitely helpful for the soul, right? And for grounding. So what the opposition with the nodes are, there's always an invisible opposition asking us to not be so rigid or maybe overly analytical or trying to make something better, like perfection. Move away from that and blend with, keep the grounding, keep the higher expression of Virgo. The higher expression of Virgo is I got it together. Yeah, I'm grounded, I'm practical, and right, I'm doing things like methodically, like with purpose, like that, and paying attention to the details. That is the higher side. The lower expression is, I'm worried about things all the time. So, or I'm trying to make something better, or I'm overthinking that. Yeah, it's a better way maybe to put it. But here we have the South Node there. And so when we have that opposition, we want to merge these two energies. We want to go with the flow of Pisces. We want to, believe in, trust our intuition. We want to believe in our imagination. We want to be compassionate instead of over analytical, right? And we want to move into our creativity, right? Yeah. So, that's what Pisces is about, and that's where the North Node is. So, yeah, and so Gemini is ruling Uranus and the South Node. excuse me, Mercury is rather. Mercury rules Gemini and it rules Virgo as well. So, there's a lot of Mercury or mercurial energy, and Mercury is our thinking. It can be our perspective and how we think about things. It can be the decisions, the plans, and the goals, all the cerebral. That is Mercury. All right. It's the analytical. And so we have that there. And Mercury is in where is Mercury again? Um, Mercury is in Cancer in your seventh house of partnerships. This can be business partnerships, romantic. It can be, this is the house of opponents, but it's the house of where you create harmony in your own life. So that's a very important thing. And that is really what the nodes are trying to create for us. They are, right? Wellness, mental wellness, physical wellness over here in Virgo, right? And then our lives work better. So what this means is that the energy will trigger us to move in a certain direction where we feel we can no longer avoid it, and then everything can fall into place. That is really what the square is about. The square is asking us to make an adjustment in our lives. And, Uranus moves into Gemini. It doesn't ask, though. It doesn't. And the square is more of an urging, but Uranus doesn't ask anybody for anything. It's just, right? It's just boom. Look, this is the way it has to be because that wasn't working anymore, or it's outdated, or, there's no progress and there's no independence, there's no liberation, and things like that. Yeah, no innovation for sure. So we have, yeah, Mercury's in your seventh house. So it's thinking about, this thinking, it's in Cancer, nurturing Cancer. And, it can be like telling you to, it's telling you basically with Uranus, first of all, in Gemini, to think differently. Most likely about the South Node is in your ninth house of growth and expansion. So the square is asking you to move away from things that don't bring you any growth, don't bring you expansion, don't help you grow, but don't, you're not experiencing wisdom or purpose. That is the ninth house of purpose as well. So there's something that you are moving away from, right? So the seventh house can be business as well, business and clients. And down here, Pisces, this third house, that is also in the natural chart ruled by Mercury. Yours is ruled by Pisces ruler is Jupiter. But this third house can be business because it is related to documents and plans and goals. And it's our thoughts as well. It's our willpower, our ideas. So I feel like this, in the square here is asking you to kind of just trust your intuition a little bit more. Go with the flow. Go a little bit more. Pisces wants us to go with the flow. The thing about Pisces, right, as it, Pisces sometimes wants to go with the flow too much. Well, I'm having a good time or whatever, right? Um, and I know this because I know this, right? But that's why we want to merge, right? The kind of seriousness over here of Virgo, or the organizing, or the, everything has to be so good, and over analyzing. So that's what's happening. You have this, yeah, and these are your third and your ninth houses. So what's happening with that is those are the houses of reflection and transition. So something will gradually change for you, Capricorn, over the next 7 years. All right. And Jupiter is ruling this North Node, and Jupiter's in Cancer. So let's refresh this. Here's Jupiter right here. And wow, Jupiter is making a square to Chiron. Very interesting, in your fourth house of home and family. But Jupiter is in your seventh house where Mercury is. And Jupiter does represent growth and, growth and expansion. Everything big. I want this to be dynamic, right? I want it to be meaningful as well. So here we have Jupiter in your house of clients, in your house of partnerships. And Jupiter is here. It rules your third, and it rules your 12th house of endings and release. Look at that. So you're pushed to let go of something that is related uh, to Jupiter. And here's Jupiter in your house of harmony and, in these partnerships, all right, and clients as well. So there's definitely something going on there for you that has a lot to do with growth and expansion. Partially maybe your business or your partnerships that has to do with expansion. It can be love as well. Venus is there, right? But Venus also represents our love and beauty, right? Our self-care and health. It does in this indirect way, but Venus is also about money. It's also about our self-care for sure, as it represents Taurus down here. Venus is here. It represents your finances, right? And so here we have Venus in your seventh house, and Venus and Jupiter are both making a square to Chiron. Chiron is the wound that you are supposed to, honestly, the best way to talk about Chiron is it's a wound, but it can follow us until we reflect and we understand it at a deep level. Then we can actually use it as a talent or to help other people or as a plus, right? Or as a definite positive in our life. So that's Chiron, and it's in your fourth house of home and family and emotional foundation. There could be some like also, with the South Node here in in your ninth house. It's possible here that this is, related to kind of home and family, but past lineage, right? There can be something, like your, maybe, grandparents and things like that, where there's maybe a little bit of a wound here. Chiron is in Aries. It is about the self. And this is, but this is your house of home and family, and also your emotional foundation. All right. So there you go. Uh, I hope you enjoyed my content, Capricorn. If so, please like, share, and subscribe. Hit the little bell, and you'll be notified of my next upload. If you want a reading with me, I have plenty of great readings, and they're all associated with growth and expansion. I'm a Sagittarian, and that's what we're about, right? Yeah. Yeah, I approach the chart in this really great way of healing, and sometimes we don't know what needs to heal, right? That's what our own chart is showing us. So if you'd like a reading, that's why Chiron may not be, it's in Aries right now with the transits and, in the sky, but it's going to move too. But in your chart, it might not be in Aries, right? So probably not. So that would make a huge difference. Thanks so much for joining me, Capricorn.